Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Lindsay, and today we're doing a full face of Hourglass makeup. Don't know what that was. This was a highly requested brand to do a full face of, so I shelled out the dough to do this for you. It was definitely a hit or a miss brand for me. Some of these products I really enjoy, and others I think frankly are not worth the money. If you want to see my thoughts on all of these, which ones are worth it and which ones are not, then keep watching. Also, if you guys aren't already subscribed, be sure to do so somewhere over here, and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy at any point. But without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, let's go ahead and get into this full face nonsense. It's not nonsense, but the first product I have from Hourglass is their Vanish Stick Foundation. I have the shade Porcelain. It might be a little bit light for me right now. This is, I feel like, a very highly reviewed foundation. There's the shade there. And I was really interested to try this. It's supposed to be full coverage. Usually stick foundations aren't my favorite, but I've been testing this a little bit. Really not a lot though. I'm excited to try this again. Yeah, I do already have a little bit of concealer on my blemishes because they were super red today, so I just went ahead and disguised them a little bit because I know I'm gonna have to do some extra coverage anyway. Just going to start with like 3 little stripes just to see how far this goes. And we're going to use a Real Techniques Expert Face Brush. And I just have like my regular skincare on. And I'm going to buff this into my skin. Oh yeah. Very, very full coverage. So just those 3 swipes gave me pretty full coverage right here on the cheek. Next, let's do this side. I'm going to try to use the same amount. I think because this is such a thick foundation that a brush is the way to go at first. And then maybe press it in with a sponge a little bit more. I was saying it's not like dense enough to really pick up the product and move it because it is such a thick stick foundation. I think a good trick for this foundation too is less is more because it's so full coverage, especially if you don't have a lot to cover. Like, you could literally use the tiniest amount of it, and you could always build things up. I would just recommend start with like the smallest amount that you think you need, and then go from there because it's very hard to sort of fix it if you do apply too much of this. That was one layer. I'm taking my sponge and I'm going to press the foundation into my skin just to see if it sits a little bit better. Okay, so now that I did that, I think it looks a lot better. What I noticed when I initially apply this foundation is it does cling to texture and dryness when you blend it in with a brush, but I find when you press it in with a sponge, it kind of takes that away. But I would say if you have very textured skin like me, it might not be your favorite foundation just right off the bat. You might have to work with it a little because just initially I noticed that it doesn't sit very smoothly over texture or blemishes, but once you press it in, that definitely helps. The con of doing that though is you're going to lose a little bit of the coverage, so it's going to take it from a really full coverage and shear it out a little bit, which might be a good thing for you if you don't want that much coverage, or it might be a con if you do need the fullest coverage. I'm going to go in with sort of a second layer. I'm just going to take a little bit where I think I still need coverage, and this time I'm going to try to just blend it in with a sponge. Yeah, that doesn't really work. You definitely have to use a brush at first. So here is what one layer of the foundation looks like. It's a little bit light for my neck, and it still hasn't covered like my blemishes, but these are super red, so honestly I don't blame it. It looks pretty skin-like. I mean, in terms of finish, I would say it's definitely a satin finish. You can still see a glow on my cheeks and my chin, but it's not overly it's not overly oily. You can see around my nose, it just clings to dry patches a little bit. So far with this foundation, I've noticed it just doesn't look the best on dry or textured parts of my face. So if you do have skin like that, maybe beware of this. If you have sort of normal to drier skin, I think this would look a little bit better on you. But I don't hate it. I think it's a pretty decent foundation. For concealer, I'm using my favorite Cover FX Power Play in the shade N-Light 1. And I'm just doing a little bit of this under my eyes. This is like darker than my foundation, that's alright. Just taking my sponge again and blending this into my skin, and then we will move into the powders that I have from Hourglass. They do have a new concealer, by the way. I was going to pick that up, but they were sold out of my shade online, so I had to skip out on that. If you guys do want to see me like use that, let me know if you would be interested, because I wasn't sure if you guys would want to see a review on that or not. Next, for under my eyes, I have the Hourglass Veil Translucent Setting Powder. This has been raved about a ton, and I have tried this out a little bit before, and it's not my favorite powder for under the eyes. I'm going to put it on anyway to show you guys just what it looks like. It just comes in this little, this is the mini size, by the way. This is also a talc-free powder. It's supposed to smooth fine lines and pores and just give you like a really airbrush finish to the skin. It does have a tiny bit of a sheen to it as well. Not really visible shimmer on your skin, but you can tell that it's not a flat matte. I think this does look decent under the eyes if you use a light amount. When I go heavy-handed, it accentuates fine lines and texture, and it kind of just makes the under eyes look a lot drier than they actually were. And I think that's because it does have that sheen throughout it that if you put a lot on, it's just not gonna look good. So I think if you have drier skin, you would really love this. I think this is absolutely beautiful for all over the face because it gives a slight sheen. I'm actually going to do a light layer just to show you guys. Just going to lightly set the other parts of my face. I do have one of the ambient lighting powders to put on top of this, so I'm just going to do a tiny bit. So I'm not sure if you can tell, but it does set your face without making it too matte. I think if you have drier skin, normal to drier skin, you would really like this. But on me, if you have more textured skin and if you have more combo to oily skin, I'm not sure this would be your favorite powder because it doesn't control oil that well, that I've noticed. And when I have textured skin but also skin that gets oily, something that like accentuates texture and doesn't control oil, for me, like that's not really an effective powder. I think it looks really pretty for the perimeter of the face where I don't get oily, but under the eyes in the T-zone, I'm just not a huge fan of it. I know it might be different for some people. It really depends on your skin type if you're gonna like this or not, but if you're unsure, get the little size like I did. But anyway, I wanted to zoom you in and try to show you the under eyes with this powder. It just doesn't look that good. I think it took away a little bit of the coverage and it just makes like it look dry. I don't know. Not a big fan of this. Next, I have the ambient lighting powder. I have the shade Ethereal Light here, which is the white one, and it has sort of more a cool toned type of iridescence to it. I'm taking a little bit of this and putting it on my face. You have to be very light-handed with these, especially if you have textured or dry skin, because again, since it has a sheen to it, it's going to accentuate any sort of roughness on your skin. But I think it adds a nice glow back to the face if you like that type of thing. Not really an oil controlling powder, and not really, it doesn't give coverage. It's just a very light veil essentially to put on your skin to make it look a little bit more healthy. So I did just go in and put some powder foundation on my blemishes just because they needed extra coverage and they would not quit. Bronzer, I have here one of the ambient lighting bronzers in Nude Bronze Light. This is such a beautifully stunning bronzer if you have a skin tone similar to mine, or if you just like a lighter bronze. It's the perfect tone in my opinion. It gives you that warmth, but it's not orange or red. They do have a couple other shades that lean on that more orangey, warm bronze, but I picked this one up and it's so stunning. This is probably one of my favorite products. I'm just going to swirl a little bit on my brush. It just applies so incredibly beautifully, and the finish, I feel like all of their products have this like slight sheen to them that just make them look really natural on the skin without being like, oh, you have shimmer on your face, if that makes any sense. Just gonna bronze the perimeter of the face here. And I know this bronzer is so pricey, but it's definitely one of my favorite bronzers that I own. I reach for this on the daily basis. It's just so pretty. Like, I don't know if you can tell, just with one layer, it really adds so much to the face. Bronzer is just comes in clutch. It is pretty sheer to start out with, and you can build it up if you'd like. I do have mini versions of all of their powders on Sephora if you guys aren't sure if you're gonna like something or not. So I'd recommend checking those out if you're not sure about a color or just want to try something out. But this bronzer is definitely probably one of my #1 picks from the whole brand. I just really love the tone and shade and formula of this, and I think it's just so beautiful. Except for blush, this is also one of my favorite products from the brand. It's the Mood Exposure Lighting Blush, Ambient Lighting Blush. This shade is so pretty. It's this mauve-y tone, more of like a cooler toned pink. I almost got the peachy one and my boyfriend picked this one out, and I'm so glad I listened to him because I have so many peachy blushes. And since buying this, I've just realized I really love how this looks on my skin tone. I think it just flatters my undertones a little bit better. It's just so pretty. I think the formula on these, just like the bronzer, they're so stunning, and I think they're unique because, again, it's hard to explain. They have this glow to them without having a lot of shimmer in them. So I'm just taking a fluffy brush here, applying this. And this formula as well is very buildable, so you could start off sheer or build it up if you want. Wow, there's like hairs everywhere. Like, I just think this is so pretty. Again, one of my top picks. I think this and the bronzer are probably my favorite. They're in my everyday makeup drawer. I use them all the time. I think the packaging's really beautiful as well. Hourglass does have a stick highlighter and they have little strobe powders. I haven't tried those though, so I'm going to use the ambient lighting powder. And I find that if I build this up on my brush, it does look like a highlight. A very light one though. Little tip if you guys do have these or wanted to pick them up, they're kind of like a multi-use powder. Right, so the face is pretty much done. I do have a brow product here. This is the Hourglass Arch Brow Micro Sculpting Pencil. I use the shade Platinum Blonde. This is completely empty. I literally finished this before I could even film this video. I absolutely love this pencil. It has this cool oval shape. It just makes it super easy to fill in your brows. It's soft enough without being too soft. It's just that perfect consistency. I do really love this. I don't think I would repurchase it even though I do love it, just because I've mentioned this before. I go through brow pencils so quickly. I usually just use the ColourPop one or the NYX one just because they're way more affordable. To like keep shelling out 30 something dollars I think for this is just a little ridiculous for me. Although I think it is a really nice formula if you wanted to splurge on an eyebrow product. Clearly I love this because it is just an empty now. I'm gonna go ahead and do my brows and I'll be back. For the eyes, I do have 3 of these Scattered Light Glitter Eyeshadow Foil Pigments. These remind me of the Bodyography glitter pigments. I will compare them a little bit when I use them. I have 3 shades. These were like their holiday collection. Not available anymore, obviously, but I will link all these shades separately besides one of them because one is limited edition. I'm not sure which one. But yeah, those will be below. Actually not sure which one I'm going to use yet, so let me swatch them for you and then I'll decide what kind of look we're gonna go for here. They're just gonna be like a light swatch. This first one here is Ray. I'm not sure if you can tell, it's this warm brown, but it has a really cool silvery glitter throughout it, which makes it a little bit more cool toned. I think this is a really interesting shade. I have used this one before. And this one is the shade Foil, which is just your classic warm gold. It has a little bit less of a glitter throughout it as compared to Ray. It's more of like a metallic. And then this last one is Molten, which it looks red in the container, but it is this purple with a purpley silver glitter throughout it. I would say the Ray and Molten have more of a glitter finish, and then the gold one is just a metallic. I think I'm going to use the gold one because I feel like I haven't done a gold eye in forever. I've been doing a lot of like pinky, purpley type of vibes. Just for my transition and matte shades, I'm using this PYT Warm palette, which I've been freaking obsessed with. I don't know why I haven't tried this since recently. I will try to do like another video on it, but these tones like are so pretty. You get 3 matte shades, 3 shimmers, and then these are also just, that's a matte and that's like a shimmer. That is not flattering. I'm using this matte light transition shade, full matte transition shade. Next, I'm taking this warmer matte shade closer to the crease line. If you guys have tried anything from Hourglass, let me know in the comments below what your favorites are. Mine are definitely like their cheek products. I think they just really hit it out of the park with those. Not a huge fan of the foundation or the powder. I'm interested to try their new concealer and see how that works. I've heard good things. Taking this on the outer and inner corners because I'm going to do a soft halo eye look. Next, to deepen it up a little bit more, I'm taking the dark matte brown. I'm just going to put this right on the outer corner of both the outer part of the halo eye and the inner. For the star of the show, the scattered light, shadow, and foil. I'm going to press this in with my finger because I feel like formulas like this definitely do best with your finger, just because you can get a lot of the pigment packed on. That's really pretty. Ooh, this turned out to be very... what the heck? Incarnation? I went ahead and just wet my brush, and I'm using the same pigment, and I'm using this because I did sort of a halo on the bottom too, just to fill in that middle part, and I'm wetting it because I think if you went in dry, there'd just be a lot of fallout with a brush. Alrighty, the very last product is the Hourglass Caution Mascara. I've heard really good things about this, and I've tried it once, and I didn't really understand how people could like this, but I'm going to try it again. I got the mini size. It just has plasticky, yeah, it has like a plastic brush. It looks like it's just those plastic bristles. Maybe there's some fluffier ones in the middle. I'm gonna go ahead and apply this. Like, it is pretty lengthening at first, but I feel like once you put on this initial layer, like, it just doesn't get better. It kind of just like one layer and that's the max. I'm gonna try to go in with a second coat, see if we can build it up. See, at this point with the second coat, I feel like it gets really clumpy. I think it's more of a voluminizing mascara than voluminizing and lengthening. So maybe if you just like a very voluminous look, it's definitely not like a terrible looking mascara with the first application, but I feel like if you want to build it up, it's just not very buildable. Alright, I know I got some mascara smudges, but we're gonna let those dry before I clean them up. Let's move on to the lips. I don't have any Hourglass lip products. I do have a couple different ones, but I don't know, I just wasn't that interested in picking anything up. If you guys have tried their lip products and you like anything, let me know. Just going to line my lips really quick with a nude. For a little glossy moment, I'm using the Tower 28 Fire Lip Jelly, which I'm obsessed with these. Alright, here's one last zoom in for you guys. I feel like this brand was definitely a hit or miss for me. I will go over my thoughts in a little bit, but overall I think the foundation it doesn't look good near my dryness or texture. Although it is very full coverage, which I appreciate, I just don't think it sits the nicest. Same thing with the veil powder. I do definitely like this one a little bit better, but yeah. Alright guys, here is our finished look. Now I'm going to give you a wrap up of what I think of each product. Starting with the base products, the foundation, not really my favorite. I think it's pricey for the amount you get. I don't think it's equal to an ounce. 20.25 ounces. Yeah, so it is a stick foundation. You're gonna get less products. It's more expensive. I could see a normal skin type liking this, maybe even normal leaning a little bit combo, as long as you don't have like textured skin or any dryness. For me, because I have texture, because I have dryness, and I have acne healing majority of the time, this just doesn't sit well on my skin. I think it would be nice if, again, you had normal skin. I think you'd really enjoy this because you can use such a small amount and get a lot of coverage out of it. I don't think it's the worst foundation I've ever tried. It definitely does wear well. But I don't know, I just wouldn't really recommend this if you have skin similar to mine. Next is the Veil Translucent Powder. Again, I think a very specific skin type would like this. If you have normal skin, I think you would really love this. If you have more oily skin, I don't think it really controls oil. And if you have texture or just your under eyes are usually your troubled area, I wouldn't recommend this because it does accentuate anything that's really going on under there, and I don't think it prevents concealer from creasing that well either. So for me, this is a pass. I think it's beautiful for all over the face if you wanted something for that. I do like this, but other than that, I don't think it's nice for under the eyes for me personally. And then next, for the ambient lighting powder, I have the shade Ethereal Light. I really love this as a setting powder. You have to be light-handed or it can accentuate texture, but I think it adds a really pretty glow to the face. Personally, I like this more than the loose setting powder. I just think it's a little bit more unique. Reminds me sort of a MAC Mineralized Skin finish where it just, I don't know if these are actually baked, but it seems like it's baked and it's super smooth. It lays beautifully over the skin. I think this accentuates texture a little bit less than this if you use the correct amount of it. I think it's really beautiful. I think it's a unique product as well. Next up, the bronzer and blush. These are my two favorites out of everything I've tried. If I were to if I were to recommend any two things, it would definitely be these. I think these are beautiful. If you haven't tried Hourglass, I think I would start with their face products because I think they're just so stunning. Nude Bronze Light, beautiful shade. It looks beautiful on the skin. This is just an everyday product for me. Same with the blush, Mood Exposure. I just absolutely love the formula of both of these. They have a sheen, but I don't think they accentuate texture. I think this is really my favorite part about these is because I usually can't use very shimmery products because they will accentuate my skin texture. These ones don't because they're just so finely milled and beautifully just, I don't know. Something about these, they're just really beautiful. If I were to recommend anything, it would definitely be these two. And then for the brow pencil, I kind of already told you guys my thoughts. I do really like it. I'm not going to repurchase because I do go through them so quickly, but I think this is a really, really nice brow pencil. I totally enjoyed using this. And then for the pigments, I do like these. My only thing with this is I've been like comparing them to the Bodyography glitter pigments in my head, and I think they're so similar. I'm not sure if these ones are more expensive. So the Bodyography glitter pigments, you get 0.15 of an ounce, and for these you get 0.07. I'm not sure if these are the full size because they were the holiday set. I will check online, but if these are more affordable, I would recommend these over the Hourglass ones, although I think they are pretty on their own. I just think if there's like a better option that are just as nice, I would go for the Bodyography ones. You can get these ones on Amazon, and if those ones are the full size, I like these a little bit better because it's just a wider pan. It's a bit easier to get your finger or a brush in. So I think these are really stunning, but if there is a better option, aka the Bodyography ones, I don't think I would recommend to, you know, run out and buy these because they're super unique. Alright guys, that was everything for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you found it helpful, please give it a thumbs up so I know you guys like videos like these. Comment below which full face you'd love to see me do next, what brand you want to see. You can comment multiple ones. Let me know below. I also have done a couple polls over on the community tab about different brands so you guys could vote which one you want to see first. So this actually was one of them. Hourglass was one of the highest voted ones. And then another one was Kjaer Weis. If you guys want to make sure that you can be able to vote in those, turn your post notifications on so you do get a notification whenever I post on the community tab. But if you just go to my channel and go to community, you will see those polls. They're still open if you want to vote. But thank you guys so much for watching again, and I'll see you in my next video.